Test, test, test. Where's the public comment mic? Test, test. Can everyone hear me? Test, 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 test. Hello, can you all hear me? I know. Okay. He might have like good headphones. We're going to begin our meeting. If you can, please be seated. I can't hear me. Good. All right. The February 27th meeting of the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability is called to order at 6:36 p.m. We began by calling the roll to establish a quorum. Commissioner Gottlieb. You can hear me, but they can't. Test. Can you all hear me? Can you all hear me? I guess I gotta yell. Commissioner Gottlieb. Commissioner Drivers present. Commissioner Minor. Commissioner Navarro. Commissioner Terry.
Present.
Commissioner Wortham. All 6 members of the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability present. We have a quorum and we can conduct the commission's business. The next item of business is public comment. If you would like to share something related to the commission's work on public safety and accountability, you have a few options. You can speak at a public meeting. You can also submit public comment in writing by emailing your comment to Community Commission Public Comment at cityofchicago.org, or you can bring a copy of your comment to one of the commission's public meetings and give it to someone on the commission or on the commission staff. People to speak during the public comment period tonight were asked to submit their names in writing earlier. Names were then drawn at random by a member of the commission staff. Speakers will be called in the order in which their names were drawn. If your name is called to offer public comment, we ask that you approach the microphone and line up in the order in which your name is called. When it's your turn to speak, please say your name, and then spell your name, and then offer your comments. Each speaker will have 2 minutes. We have allotted a total of 20 minutes for public comment. I will call you in groups of 3. Julie has the microphone here. First speaker is Mike Pavilion. Second is District Council Member Veronica Ariola and Jasmine Smith.
My name is Michael or Mike Avalon.
No, we can't hear you.
My name is Mike Avalon. P-A-V-I-I-L-O-N. If you want me to spell it. Oh, okay. Nobody told me that. P-A-V-I-L-O-N. Is that better? Oh, I'm the guy who always brings up civilian hiring. And I brought it up a couple other times. But I did some research. And I'm seeing that Houston is way ahead of us, and they have not made an allocation study prior to that. Neither has New York, Los Angeles. They have skipped any kind of allocation, and they went right into hiring civilians. And they've hired civilians not just for 911 calls, and not just for staying at the front desk, but they've hired amongst administration and helping out detectives doing research, like I did for 4 hours yesterday, finding this data out. So I'm not so sure we shouldn't start hiring civilians, which the superintendent alluded to that. He hired 26, wants to do it. When? Why should it stop or not start the allocation study is going on. In 10 months. That's too bad. More kids live on the streets and kind of data that you can get from LA and Houston. They're the closest to us with population. Us. Capital is ahead of ours, capital for homicides. So why not start the suburban hiring? I see no reason for it. It's less expensive than officers, training officers. You don't have to do that. You can hire them as if they were working in office. The general is that city or county. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, good evening. I'm Veronica Ariola, 24th District Counselor and 20+ year resident of West Rogers Park. Welcome to our little part of the city. I am here to share public comment at the behest of my constituents. At our last 2 meetings, we've had a lively discussion on how to balance police accountability with public safety, which I believe is at the heart of the 50-year campaign that created the CCPSA. Simply put, if Chicagoans do not trust in the officers of the Chicago Police Department, they will not call 911 when they see an incident. They will not share information when asked. Why? Because we've seen millions of our tax dollars used in settlements where police have abused, harmed, or killed our neighbors, family members, and some of us have also been at the end of that. The key to earning trust is to hold yourself accountable. And currently, one area of accountability that must be addressed is the rooting out of white supremacists on the force. I speak in support of the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression's work to ensure our city does not tolerate white supremacists on our police force. This has been an issue for far too long with little action. When neighbors come to our district council meetings seeking support for addressing crime on their block, they come frustrated with the lack of phone calls to 911 and the lack of officers who know their block. They come seeking support for walking to their house of worship without attack or harassment. How can our Jewish neighbors feel safe if they know that CPD employs those who wish Jewish people harm? How can our Black neighbors, our Latinx neighbors, or our LGBTQ neighbors? So many communities and identities are under attack by white supremacy. It should be a no-brainer for the city to say your views conflict with our view of public safety, period. Until then, there will always be distrust between the community and the police department. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Can y'all hear me? So I am activist Jasmine Smith. And just so y'all can see, like, I'm pretty multitasking because I'm really out here fighting for accountability when it comes to police and justice for my loved ones who've been harmed by CPD. That was wrongfully convicted by CPD. And we're here having these meetings and we fought for this body. We fought for this body. We fought for the district councilors and we fought for COPA. All of these entities to us don't even know about politics or politics and stuff like that that knocks at our door. We fought for this body to be created to do those things, like to fight for justice. So the ones who aren't aware or the ones who are having a hard time to get out here and really fight against these injustices for their loved ones, to be properly handled correctly. So I'm all the way up north and I live down south. Come into this body to just educate the people that be in the community that's not aware, like the Chicago Alliance, because I know somebody in the last public comment said that they don't hear us fighting for the gun violence in Chicago. So number one, we don't fight for gun violence in Chicago. We are an organization that fights for police accountability and police misconduct and to free wrongfully convicted torture survivors, for people who are not educated on what our organization fight for. There is different organizations that fight for gun violence. Do we care about gun violence? Yes, we do. My daughter is a gun violence survivor. She was shot 6 times on the city of Chicago. So yes, we absolutely care about that. But there's so many injustices going on within the Black and brown community, and we cannot tackle everything at one time. That's why we fight for bodies to be created to help us fight these injustices. Now, when it comes to the pretextual traffic stops, it has to be something done to end it because people are losing their lives to that. And that was real quick, but it can go on and on.
Thank you. Our next 3 speakers are Jeff Tischauser, Ladero Gossell, and Omar Dacres.
Two things. First, I'm never going to forget ever in my life that the first official act that you all took was to tell OIG to investigate COPA. Communities did not ask for that investigation. Only a small handful of ex-police officers who worked for COPA did. OIG's investigation into COPA is still ongoing. But you wanted to call for a no confidence vote on COPA's leader. That's crazy. That's really, really crazy, particularly after members of this commission have told us not to rush to judgment as BIA or COPA investigates misconduct. So why rush a no confidence vote? Why play in the hands of FOP 7 and its Trump backing leadership? Since 2023, I've attended dozens of CCPSA and district council meetings all over the city. I've heard over and over and over again from community members demanding for you all to push CPD to do something about white supremacists in the ranks. The new association order you created is great, but it's not being followed by Superintendent Snelling. Do something. Make demands. You hired Superintendent Snelling. BIA's investigation into officers with ties to white supremacist groups are shameful. Why do you still have confidence in Superintendent Snelling after he called these investigations perfect? That's a quote, perfect. Instead of holding a no confidence vote on Snelling for not following rules you all created, the first act you do results in weakening COPA, the only body that seems capable of actually investigating racist misconduct. BIA is incapable of investigating a lot of things, particularly white supremacists in the ranks. These investigations need to be moved outside of CPD. Thank you very much for your time.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ladero Goss. Just wanted to come and address the police pretextual stops. First of all, I want to address the issue about the listening. I want to address about the issues of the listening sessions that's happening on the west and the south side. They're not happening on the north side where we still have those same issues as they have on the south and west side. It's not fair to us that we have to wait for a Zoom call or a meeting. We need to have the listening sessions for the pretextual stops on the north side just as well as we need to have them on the west and the south side. That's about it. I don't want to keep yelling. I'll let Omar.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Omar, O-M-A-R, last name Dakers, D-A-C-R-E-S, and I am a violence interrupter for One Northside. I am a victim's advocate. I was put through 17 weeks of arduous training to learn about different traumas, how to approach them, and how to combat them when faced with them. Now, it's a bit ironic that we only get 2 minutes to talk about a plethora of issues. However, I will make the best of my time. I deem it fair, maybe if possible, that the police would be put through the same rigors of training that we were put through to learn how to best deal with said traumas. Now, I'm not up here to talk about facts and figures and who said and who did and who died. We all know these things already. We know what happened. We know what could take place. If we don't stop this now, violence will continue. It has been a problem in the past. It's a present problem, and if we don't do something about it now, it'll continue into the future. All I ask is that you stop this before it gets bigger than it already is. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final two speakers are Dale Dacre Sr. and Camilla S. Dale Dacre Sr., Darrell Dacre Sr., and Camilla S.
Thank you, council, for commission. Yeah, hear me? I can good. Yeah, my name is Darrell Dacres, District Council for the 20th District, as well as Vice Prevention Program Manager, Uptown and Rogers Park. First of all, I appreciate the work being done by the CCPSA team as a whole. But I am a victim of contextual stops myself in the community. As a member of the community and a representation and a voice of the people who elected me, I just want to talk about how the issues are on the north side, more specifically pertaining to contextual stops, go kind of unheard, unsatisfied to the community standards of disciplinary action. When the police do stuff, you often hear about the amount of money that goes out to families for lawsuits, civil suits, this and that, but rarely do you hear about any kind of change that's happening as far as CPD and the training, any types of change happening to what's happening on a local level. We also had issues in my own district with accusations of white supremacy happening, with officers being tied to white supremacist organizations, and we only seen transfers. We didn't hear anything about anybody getting fired. We didn't hear any disciplinary actions. So as a representation of my community and a member of my community affected by these issues, I ask that we bring the conversation of pretextual stops to the north side so we can get the voices of the north side people heard, as well as the victims of issues that's happening to, and I appreciate you all being here today on the north side, but also investigate these officers who are constantly being called white supremacists, because they are also the perpetrators of these assaults that's happening to regular civilians. I shouldn't be getting pulled over. I only have a 9-person staff in my victims advocacy group, and we all get pulled over by the cops. So I can only imagine what's happening to my participants, and our voices are just not heard. So thank you.
The people of Chicago have experienced tremendous harms. So whether a person has lost someone to violence or experienced violence, that survivorship itself isn't enough to justify just any approach to public safety. The question should be, does an approach grow the antisocial basis of the problem in question, or does it seek to end it? This is true whether we're talking about gun violence, patriarchal violence, ableist violence, or other forms of violence. It's not just about one's identity or what one has lost or who one has lost. The question is, are the approaches you're taking increasing the vulnerability of the folks that could meet that same fate? That is the question. And policing by the book, even without misconduct, is harmful and unjust and antisocial. And that's why you all, at the very least, must speak out for cop watch trainings and monitoring and bystander intervention trainings for community, competency building activities for the community to intervene in the police terrorism that is all across this city. These activities should be regularized and institutionalized, just like all these North Side organizations have done with migrant defense, rightfully, while leaving out Black folks, just like they did for decades. That should be regularized and institutionalized. That's why we gave y'all power. That's what we fought for. And on gun violence, criminalization leads to increasing uncertainty and legal risk premiums. These are what drive violence. Uncertainty, scarcity, and increasing legal risk premiums from criminalization. It's uncertainty, not cops, not criminalization.
Thank you all. That concludes our public comment period. We appreciate all of our speakers. Before we move on to our main items of business, I want to share a few words about our work with the district councils. Every month, we receive a monthly update from district councils where they share what they perceive to be the main policing issues in their district. They also share an overview of what they have heard from their constituents, the progress they are making in developing community policing initiatives and restorative justice programs, and any other updates on their work as elected public bodies. I know that I am not alone on this stage in saying that I read these reports every month. Sometimes I even make calls to alders and other elected officials about what I've learned from these updates. I share this with you all because I want the public to know that this commission is informed by the local work of our DCs and more importantly by the communities that they represent. For example, right now we are in District 24. In the recent monthly updates, councilors Pagan Banks and Ariola shared with us that immigration enforcement, hate crimes, gang violence, and open-air drug markets are among the most prevalent policing issues. They also shared that their constituents raised concerns about the utility of CAPS. Sorry, I got a call. About the utility of CAPS meetings, the amount of time police spent on parking-related issues, and when to call 911 versus 311. We are currently very close to District 20. In our most recent updates, Councilors O'Connor, Rubin, and Dacres informed us that major policing issues include traffic stops, issues with investigations, communications with district leadership, and a high rate of car thefts. Their constituents want more violence prevention, Narcan training, better investigation of gun crimes, and better tactics with traffic stops. They also want direction on what to do when they witness officer misconduct. They are concerned about the use of AI, facial recognition, and police work, and they feel conflicted about how gentrification impacts public safety and racial diversity. This input is invaluable to us. It provides us with a deeper sense of what is going on across the city, and it gears us up what do we do as a commission. This is how our system is supposed to work. District voices helping us find pathways forward when it comes to overarching citywide issues and public safety. If you are a community member, I urge you to please attend your district council meetings and engage your elected district councilors. If you are a DC, please continue to gather input from your constituents or to identify the most significant policing issues in your district and share that with the commission. The more we all communicate and listen, the better we will be in making community of policing a true benefit for the police and for the city that we proudly serve. Our next order of business will be the approval of minutes. Before today's meeting, the draft minutes of the commission's regular meeting held on January 30th, 2025 was shared with all commissioners. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
Hello, can you hear me? Can everyone hear me? Okay, so I don't know, I sent, it was just this morning, but, okay. All right, sorry, thank you. Okay, so I did send some corrections, but I sent them this morning, so I don't know if you'd like me to read them, they're brief, or if you want to just hold it, it's up to you. So the revisions that I had were related to the paragraphs related to the exchange that Commissioner Minor and I had at the last meeting. The proposed revisions were as follows. Commissioner Minor indicated that prior to her public comments on this issue, she spoke with commissioners who were available at the OMA compliant meeting. I was at that meeting, and my response, I clarified this was not in the minutes, trying to add to the minutes so that they are clear. In my response, I clarified that Commissioner Minor did not speak with me prior to making her public comments. I also indicated that it is important to me to ensure that all members of the community from all perspectives feel welcome and comfortable at our meetings. I further indicated that I have heard from members of the community who have indicated that they do not feel comfortable at CCPSA meetings because of the aggressive language and behavior of some attendees. This is information, again, that was not in the minutes that I was proposing be added because it is what I said, and I did review the video to clarify. In addition,
For the third sentence of the second paragraph of my remarks, I would like to make the following revision. Quote, Commissioner Wortham recounted that she and Commissioner Terry did not initially answer the CPD policy question because that was not the format of the meeting. However, Commissioner Wortham further indicated that moving forward, she believes it to be the responsibility of the commission to provide relevant information to the public regarding existing Chicago Police Department policies where said information will be useful for the conversation. Again, I went back and watched the video to clarify what I actually said so that minutes.
So you're moving to add this to the record.
Yes.
I will second that motion. Any further comments or debate on this matter? All those in favor of adopting Sandra's motion to add her remarks to be reflected in the meeting minutes and approval of the meeting minutes from January 30th, 2025, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? The ayes have it. And the minutes for January 30th, 2025 are with the addition of what Commissioner Wortham sent around and also just read into the record. Now we'll move on to the business. Our next order of business is an amendment to the public comment and decorum section of the commission's bylaws. For this meeting, all members of the commission received copies of the proposed amendment. Before we get into the details of the amendment, I want to be clear about a few things. Commission meetings are a place where people express very strong opinions, sometimes about life and death issues. Commissioners, people who make public comment, and guest speakers will come to commission meetings with a wide range of views on very important issues. People come here to argue passionately or against the policy. They may come here to criticize the department that the commission oversees, or to criticize the commission. That's all good. The commission has to be a place where we can have hard conversations about difficult issues. The bylaws amendments we are discussing today is not about limiting those conversations. It's about making sure that everyone can be heard and that we can all focus on the important issues that the commission is addressing or should address. This amendment does a few things. It provides that public comment being given at the commission meetings must be limited to issues of concern before the commission and issues related to the business of the commission. Comments of a personal nature that are unrelated to the operations of business of the commission, directed towards individual commissioners, employees of CCPSA, or any other individuals are not permitted. It further provides that unauthorized remarks, stamping feet, whistling, and similar demonstrations are prohibited during any meeting of the commission, and that during any meeting of the commission, people must not interrupt the commission's proceedings or the comments of any person that is recognized by the chair, make profane, vulgar, threatening, abusive, disruptive, or slanderous remarks, display disruptive behavior, including disruptive or disrespectful conduct towards others, presenting, display demeaning, discriminatory, or harassing behavior and speech directed towards others, hold, wave, or display any banner or sign in a way that causes a physical hazard or blocks another person's view of the proceedings, or refuse to follow the instructions of the chair or comply with these policies or any other rules governing the commission's proceedings. People who engage in behaviors prohibited by the amendment will be asked to cease engaging in the conduct. If the behavior continues, it will result in removal. When violations of these rules of decorum occur, a commissioner can make a point of order. If a commissioner makes a point of order about decorum, they would need to specifically cite how an individual has violated decorum. The chair or the majority of the commissioners present may determine whether a violation has occurred. This amendment also contains a provision requiring that whatever members of the public wish to make a comment, even if it regards a concern about an individual commissioner's performance or their duties, the comment must be directed to the entire commission. The amendment also contains a provision allowing the chair to ask speakers with similar comments to select a designated representative to speak on their behalf. The commission usually has time for everyone who signs up to make public comment, but if there are times where there are more speakers, then there is time available for comment. We may ask people who have the same or similar comments to consolidate their comments. The amendment currently under consideration by the commission has two versions. Version A covers exactly what I just explained above. Version B has a few modifications. It removes the provision on the chair calling for commenters to select a speaker to represent a group of redundant comments. It also makes explicit that commissioners will use Robert's Rules of Order to address situations in which a commissioner violates the rules of decorum. If either version of the amendment is adopted tonight, we will update the bylaws posted on our website. We will also provide materials to the public to ensure they are aware of the rules of decorum. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners?
I motion that we adopt Amendment B.
The floor is open for debate.
Yeah.
So I have a comment and a clarifying issue about the two different versions. So as Commissioner Driver just said, there was an initial version that we've all reviewed. There were then amendments added to create version B. The amendment that I take issue with is suggesting that, first of all, it says that all commissioner behavior should be governed by section F. And I want to be respectful of our time, but if I need to, I can go through section F and how detailed it is about what we are and aren't allowed to do. Of course, I just came off of that. Do you have it? Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. As soon as I find. Hello? I mean, I can speak
So,
louder.
Before Commissioner Wortham, here's the volume issue here. There's one speaker, and it's really hard to hear. We have to yell the entire time. I don't currently have a fix for that. So can you all hear me now? I will do my best to. Because the people on Zoom? Okay. I will do my best to speak as loudly as possible. But I'm currently yelling, and so we'll have to do our best to yell out and project into the audience. But there's not a great speaker setup here.
All right, so I will try to be respectful of time and just say my issue with version B is it adds a clause that says, in addition to all of the decorum stuff, so obviously you can't interrupt, you can't say personal things, you can't say disrespectful things, that communications will aim to be respectful. I don't want to misquote it. Hold on, let me tell me. So let me just be very frank. My issue with it is, as many of you who were here last month or who watched the video heard my comments about the minutes, the idea of what's respect is completely subjective. And I'll be frank, the amendment was added by Commissioner Minor. If you were at our last meeting, Commissioner Minor attempted to apologize on behalf of the commission for behavior that she and others apparently thought on my behalf was disrespectful at a traffic stop listening session. Now, I, of course, did not believe the behavior was disrespectful. I, of course, was sharing information. I was then accused of engaging in, quote, cop agenda. Now, I could say that to say I was engaging in cop agenda is a disrespectful attack on me, right? That would be a subjective opinion. So my objection to version B is that when you start adding words about, in addition to all of the other specificity that's in these bylaws, to say, oh, your communication must aim to be respectful, it's so subjective. And we've already seen on this commission with our diversity of opinion that I believe it opens every commissioner up to being unfairly attacked, quite frankly, for expressing their opinions on certain issues. I believe version A is extremely thorough, extremely detailed, and keeps all of us, both members attending our meetings as well as commissioners, in line to ensure that we are engaging in professional behavior and giving each other the room and the respect to express ourselves. But to start adding subjective determinations about expression, I believe makes us all vulnerable to things that nobody would probably want to be vulnerable to. And I just want to remind all of my fellow commissioners that one room on one side of the city might consider certain information disrespectful or cop agenda. On another side of the city, they might consider that very helpful information and what we should be doing. So I think we should all be respectful of each other and pass a bylaw that does that.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard on this issue?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I want to make clear is nobody on this commission during the last commission meeting ever used the word cop agenda. I have not heard the word cop agenda be used in this space. So although I hear you and I don't want to discount whatever your lived experience is, I think it's important to be very clear about where you're hearing certain things coming from and to name those things and name those places, because I don't want to misrepresent what we stand for as a commission or what the communication has looked like behind closed doors and in public in terms of what you've been hearing from us and what our dialogue has been looking like. In terms of talking about the disrespect that was called the subjective disrespect that happened at the last listening session, I think it's very important for me to be very clear about what I witnessed because I was in the room. There was a young lady who was giving public comment and she talked about her experience with officers. And she said in her 30 years of life, she has not had one positive experience with police officers. And she said many people in this room would agree. Commissioner Wortham said something along the lines, and I don't want to, I'm paraphrasing. I did not pull up the tape, nor do I need to in this matter. But I just want to be very clear about what the communication looks like, because I think it's important for us to have a level of clarity as we engage in this conversation. But she said something along the lines of, I am one of the people in the room. I do not agree with that experience. And these two individuals began to have a debate about her lived experience. And the young lady, and it went on for quite a while in the midst of the listening session, to the point where other people wanted to do public comment, and we had to cut our time a little bit short because of that engagement. Another young lady then came to the mic after they had their discussion, and she was also talking about how she felt and what she would want from our commission when it comes to community listening sessions, and what she thinks listening looks like, and what she would want from active listeners and participants in this space. In the midst of her public comment, she stopped and addressed Commissioner Wortham and said, your nonverbal communication makes me very uncomfortable. It feels as if you are not listening to me. It feels as if you do not, and I'm paraphrasing, but you do not hear or respect what I have to say. And for those reasons, I am done. The young lady then storms out of the room, and she tells one of the people, the district counselors who invited her, that she is no longer coming back to our community listening sessions because she does not feel heard or valued in the space. Following that interaction, we have received, myself and other commissioners, comments from the community saying that they did not feel heard, safe, did not like that interaction, that they wanted a different level of interactions, that they wanted us to truly think about and consider what it means to have a listening session. That although, we appreciate, although commissioners have the opportunity to provide feedback or, give a level of education, that they feel as if that listening session should have been a listening opportunity, and at no point should we have been engaging with people's narratives and experiences and or projecting our own.
Point of order on the reason for the amendment.
I move the table to close debate and to table this motion until our next regularly scheduled meeting. There's a second. All those in favor of the tabling this motion until our next regularly scheduled meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
In the opinion of the chair, we can take a roll call vote. All those in favor of tabling this motion to our next regularly scheduled meeting, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed to it, please raise your hand. The vote is 4-2. This motion is tabled. This vote is tabled until the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Look forward to it.
Our next order of business will be reports and updates. Commissioner Terry and I will begin by discussing the COPA Chief Administrator search. Commissioner Terry.
Good evening, all. COPA Chief Administrator Andrea Kirsten recently announced that she will step down from her position. Her last day as Chief Administrator will be on tomorrow, February 28th, 2025. By law, the mayor has the power to select an interim chief administrator to lead COPA until a permanent chief administrator is selected, confirmed, and takes office. And by law, where there is a vacancy in the position of chief administrator of COPA, the commission is responsible for appointing the permanent chief administrator. The commission's selection of the chief administrator is subject to city council approval, similar to the superintendent process. MCC section 280-080E of the ordinance sets out that the process that the commission must follow to select the chief administrator of COPA looks like this. The commission has to select a nationally recognized organization with expertise in government oversight to help perform a nationwide search. The organization has to identify at least 10 candidates. The commission has to review the candidates and find the one that best fulfills the qualification laid out in the COPA's ordinance. After the commission selects a nominee, the mayor may provide written input on the commission's selection. Then the commission's selected candidate will go before the City Council Committee on Police and Fire for a hearing. If a majority of the Public Safety Committee supports the commission's candidate, the candidate will be voted on by the full City Council. If the majority of the city council supports the candidate, they will become the next COPA chief administrator. If the city council rejects the commission selected candidate, then the commission has 30 days to select a new candidate and the process starts over again.
The commission will host 4 public hearings on the search for the next chief administrator, one on the north side, one on the west side, and one on the south side, and the 4th and final one will be virtual. At these hearings, commissioners will provide information about COPA's function, responsibilities, and jurisdiction. Commissioners will then gather public comment on what qualities the community would like in a new chief administrator, what priorities should be the focus of a new chief administrator, and any other considerations for how commissioners should assess candidates. These public hearings will take place before the commission evaluates applications. For more details regarding the commission's role in selecting the COPA chief administrator, please visit our website. Are there any questions from the commission? Next will be an update from Commissioners Gottlieb and Terry on traffic stop.
Thank you, President Driver. The commission is engaged in ongoing conversations with the Department of Law and CPD about traffic stops policy. As we've described in previous meetings, the independent monitor and the CPD consent decree has said that traffic stops should be included in the consent decree. The consent decree judge will decide whether traffic stops will be included in the consent decree. Right now, the commission has the authority to make traffic stops policy. So the commission's position has been that if traffic stops are incorporated in the consent decree, the commission must continue to play a major role in developing the policy. The consent decree was written and approved before the commission was established. The consent decree does not define a role for the commission in policymaking because it was established prior to the commission's existence. So the commission has been working with CPD and the City of Chicago's Department of Law to develop a plan for how the commission would work on traffic stops policy if traffic stops do end up being included in the consent decree. The commission and CPD have agreed that the process would look very similar to the process the commission and CPD now use to develop CPD policy. The commission and CPD will meet to discuss traffic stop policy ideas. Then CPD will do a first draft of a policy. Then the commission will review the draft and make comments and suggestions. If there are any suggestions from the commission that CPD doesn't want to incorporate, then the commission and CPD have to meet to try to resolve their differences, and I'll hand it to Commissioner Terry.
Thank you. If the commission and CPD agree on a policy proposal, then that policy will get submitted to the Illinois Attorney General's office and to the independent monitor for further review. If the commission's proposal and CPD proposal will get submitted to the Attorney General and the monitor. In either case, the Attorney General and the monitor will review the policies. The consent decree lays out a process for working to get agreement among CPD, the Attorney General, and the monitor. For traffic stops policy, the commission will be a full participant in that process to try and resolve any differences with CPD, the Attorney General, and the monitor. If there are any issues that CPD, the Attorney General, the monitor, and the commission can't resolve, the court will be the final decision maker. That's the process that is required under the consent decree. So far in the history of the consent decree, there has been very few times when the parties couldn't agree on a policy and the court had to decide. The process we have agreed to with CPD says that public engagement will continue to be a central part of the commission's work. The commission will continue to provide regular updates and get input at the commission's public meetings. The commission will continue to get input on traffic stop policy on the commission's website. The commission will organize or participate in meetings with people and organizations that are interested in traffic stop policy, and the commission will gather their input. When there is a policy ready for the review, the commission will post it on the website and collect public comment. And the commission and CPD will work to address the comments and potentially make changes to draft policies based on all the feedback it receives. Now that the commission and CPD have agreed on the process, focusing on the policy, the commission and CPD have started meeting to discuss policy details and will provide updates on the work at the commission's future public meetings. The commission has also created a web page on the CCPSA website with more information regarding traffic stops. There you can find our community feedback survey, details of upcoming listening sessions, current CPD policies related to traffic stops, and an overview of what your rights are when stopped by police. We will provide more updates as they become available.
Thank you, commissioners. Are there any questions from the commissioners on this? Next, there will be an update from Commissioner Minor on the mayor's extremism and law enforcement task force. But before Commissioner Minor speaks, I want to be very clear because I do think there's been confusion. This is the mayor's task force. The mayor's task force. This is not the CCPSA's task force. We do not direct this task force. We don't control who's on it or the outcomes of it. It's the mayor's task force that one or two of our commissioners are sitting on. So I know that there's a lot of feelings around this task force from the public. You are more than welcome to speak about that in public comment or to any individual commissioners, but the responsibility for that lies with Gary and Gatewood and the mayor's office. Commissioner Minor.
Last July, in response to concerns about how CPD handled regulations that some allegations, that some Chicago police officers had ties to extremist groups, the city's inspector general recommended that the mayor's office create a task force that would develop a comprehensive strategy for identifying and preventing extremist behavior within CPD. Last week, the mayor's office announced that the task force was created. The task force is chaired by Gary Gatewood, who is Deputy Mayor of Public Safety, and Carla Coupe, who leads the Mayor's Office of Equity and Racial Justice. The task force includes several city departments that play a role in CPD hiring, like CPD, the Department of Human Resources, and the Office of Public Safety Administration. Commissioner Terry and I are commissioner representatives for the task force. Commissioner Terry and I heard from the Mayor's Office for Community Safety and the Office of Equity and Racial Justice this month on updates regarding the task force work. The task force is currently in phase 1, identifying any current or ongoing work happening in the city related to preventing, identifying, and eliminating extremism and anti-government activities and associations. Commissioner Terry and I will be meeting with the full task force next month to hear about other departments' current work and any places where the departments have identified gaps in their work or support needed to accomplish their goals. We look forward to keeping the community updated on the work of the task force.
Thank you, Commissioner Minor. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners on this subject? Commissioner Wortham.
Am I correct in what I read that the task force is actually, I don't know, strangely, my mic doesn't work. Shocking. Am I correct in my understanding that the task force was actually created to investigate extremism in all city departments, not just the police department, correct?
It's supposed to be a whole of government approach to identifying and hating extremist groups.
So across all city departments?
Whole of government.
Okay.
Next, any more questions or comments on this subject? Next, there will be an update from Commissioner Ruby Navarrijo on the Non-Citizen Advisory Council.
Hello, everyone. The first meeting of the new Non-Citizen Advisory Council was held this week. The NAC was created to advise the commission on the perspectives and experiences of Chicago residents who are not United States citizens and ensure that those views are reflected and incorporated into the commission's work. The new council is currently undertaking the job of developing and establishing the NAC's structure and operational processes. Once the Non-Citizen Advisory Council has completed this responsibility and shared this with the commission, the NAC will begin undertaking the work enacted in CCPSA's ordinance. The NAC and commissioners have already expressed interest in issues such as T and U visa applications, misinformation campaigns in the immigration community, and non-citizen perspectives on traffic stops. The commission looks forward to expanding its relationships with the non-citizen and immigrant communities in Chicago and gaining valuable insights on public safety issues from these communities in the coming months. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ruby Navarijo. Are there any questions from the commission? Seeing no further questions, we'll now move to a brief update on the CPD policy working group, and for that, I'll pass the microphone to Commissioner Wortham.
Thank you. So you heard a little bit about this earlier from Commissioner Terry, but Commissioner Terry and I met with CPD on February 20th for I think that was our regular meeting, but this meeting included discussions of general orders that were previously passed by the commission, and information was also shared regarding the commission's community engagement work on traffic stops. Our next group meeting with Chicago Police Department is scheduled for March 6th, so just next week. Are there any questions on that?
Can you tell us about the specific general orders that were discussed?
Largely at that meeting, we discussed the implementation of G1101 and that continued rollout with the engagement between the Chicago Police Department, district councils, and the commission. And then because of what was explained earlier regarding the nature of traffic stops, we didn't discuss the policy part of traffic stops, but as I just said, the community engagement part of the traffic stop work.
Has there been any discussion about the bias policy that
Yes.
passed by the?
Yes, so we also discussed GAO 803 and the department's implementation of that and how CCPSA will be able to track the implementation and essentially, I suppose, effectiveness of the tracking of the application of the order. GAO 803 being the bias-based association's order.
Well, I look forward to learning more.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners on this subject? Seeing no further questions, we'll now move on to miscellaneous business. Commissioner Minor.
I actually do have some miscellaneous business.
So for the microphones to work, you sit them down, please don't turn them off. When you turn them off, they take a while to come back on. So just leave the switch up and up.
Thank you. That's super helpful. So I have a few things actually, but the first is that the last commission meeting that some of you attended, both Commissioner Minor and I requested that for future listening sessions related to traffic stops, that commissioners be rotated in to take the lead on that, and that it not just be the role of the working group. To my knowledge, thus far, that's still going to be done by the working group. And my request is that at our next meeting, we make sure to actually take a vote on this issue. I actually think this is something that we should apply to all working groups, not just to this specific issue. And I'd be open to voting on that as well. But I think this is an issue that's been raised and doesn't seem to have at least been adequately addressed. So I would like us to take a public vote on it at the next meeting.
Sure. So first thing I'll say is I think everybody up here is aware of how things get on the agenda. If you would have liked that to be on this agenda, Commissioner Terry and myself, who serve as president and vice president, as long as you request that within their appropriate time frame so that we can notice it up and put it on the agenda, I'm sure both of us are more than happy to have that conversation. So I appreciate you saying this, but there's a process in place for that. And there's nothing stopping that from being on the agenda. None of us are standing in the way of that.
Sounds good. No, I wanted it to be discussed first at our OMA client meeting. Now, saying that I will make sure and I will follow the process as you indicated. Does anyone else have other comments? Because I have a few other.
Related to that topic, I would just encourage all of us with anything that we want to participate in, be in attendance, because when we're at a listening session, we're listening and it's just whoever is sitting at the table. So I don't know that you have to be sitting at the table to be in the room to hear what community desires. So I would just encourage us, if we want to be engaged with the listening sessions, we should show up to the listening sessions, whether you're sitting at the table, reading off the script or not.
Go ahead, Aaron.
So I also just wanted to draw people's attention to some ordinances that have been proposed in city council. One would essentially abolish COPA as it currently exists. I will not talk about that right now.
You gotta hold the mic up. They
Yeah,
can't.
I'm not gonna talk about that now apparently, but I'm told by our legal. So. Okay, sorry. Okay, so I want to talk about two ordinances that have been that are been proposed in city council. The first, essentially, get rid of COPA's investigatory power on police misconduct. The second would essentially get rid of our district councils in the way that they are now. I personally strongly oppose both and encourage you to become informed about those ordinances and to, if you have a strong feeling, advocate about them. They were just introduced. I don't know the exact like timeline about when they would come up, but now, I mean, I would look into this now.
They were both sent to the Rules Committee. They were introduced and sent to the Rules Committee. Any other comments or miscellaneous business from anybody?
I also want to take a second to recognize our elected officials and district counselors in the room. Beth Rochford, Brad Kessler, Bob Johnson, Veronica Ariola, Deidre O'Connor, Darrell Dakers, Anna Rubin, Pastor Marilyn Hagan Banks, she's participating virtually, Jeannie Schaefer, and Dion McGill. If you are in the room, an elected official or district counselor, and I did not say your name, please feel free to raise your hand and introduce yourself to the space. Awesome. To connect with the commission via social media, you can find us at the following platforms. On Facebook, it's www.facebook.com, Chicago CCPSA, or Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability. On Instagram, we're at CCPSA_Chicago. That's the same for Twitter. And on YouTube, it's at Chicago CCPSA. Thank you so much.
The commission's next traffic stop listening session will be Wednesday, March 19, 2025 at Tilden High School. Our next regular meeting will be Thursday, March 27, 2025, 6:30 p.m. at the DuSable Museum. Is there any further business before the commission? Hearing none, the commission meeting is adjourned at 7:33 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Also, the meeting is adjourned, but I do want to say this. I'm extremely concerned about the rampant amount of misinformation that's out there. So I'm about to adjourn the meeting. This is one of the quickest meetings we've ever had. I'm available for at least the next hour or so. If anybody here wants to talk to me about any decisions that the commission has made or will make, I will avail myself. But there's a rampant amount of misinformation and very, very, very blatant untruths. There's a large number of people in this room who also have my phone number. So I'm confused as to why there is so much misinformation. But I will avail myself at least for the next hour, hour and a half, if anybody here would like to speak to me personally about what's happening with the CCPSA or public safety in general. Thank you, everyone.